Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brett TV podcast, brought to you by Ride Wrap. I'm here with Dave Watson in my basement, and it's been a long time. Old buddy, Canadian downhill World Cup racer, Rampager, getting bike covers and crank segments and a bunch of early movies like Ride to the Hills and multi-time Canadian downhill champion and business owner, entrepreneur, and an old buddy of mine, North Shore resident, Dave Watson. How are you, buddy?
Great. Super excited to be here, man. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming over. Been bustling around. Just got back from the Coast Gravity Park BC Cup downhill.
Awesome.
You're an old BC Cup racer before you went to World Cup.
Yeah.
For sure, back in the day. But let's go back to the beginning. You're not born in North Vancouver. You're born in New Westminster, Royal Columbian Hospital.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Raised in the Tri-Cities.
Yes. Yeah.
Coquitlam guy growing up. What was that like?
That's right.
What was your first bike out there, and how did you get into biking in Coquitlam?
It was good, man. But you know what? No one really rode mountain bikes in my era. Like BMX was huge. Like the kids really rallied on BMXs around our neighborhood. It was good.
You were
memories.
a BMX kid too?
BMX kid, and like I raced. I went to the track and definitely did the tour. Like enjoyed getting into the BMX scene. But like the neighborhood scene, when I look back memory wise, like jumping garbage cans and flying around and building like little rugged tracks and on non-developed areas like that, those are the memories for sure.
Pure essence.
Yes.
So your first bike was a BMX right away? That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
Oh, you know, I don't even know what it was, but I raced a BMX race down at the P&E, and whatever my dad put under my legs is what I raced. I don't know what it was. Big steel heavy thing, not sure. But eventually I got upgraded to a lightweight Diamondback. I think it was a Silver Streak, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Chromoly.
And the first mountain bike?
First
grade 9, was
mountain bike came later, much later. Yeah, so I think it was around grade 9. Yeah, something like that. Grade 8, grade 9-ish. Yeah.
What was it?
It was a Kranked. I mean, a Cannondale.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Classic. What kind of rubber did you use back then? Remember tires back then?
Bonzas or something. I mean, you just accessorized your bike like you do today. I think I had like some really fancy tire package on there. I'd gone down and saved up a month for and bought on a weekend kind of thing.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Remember the old Dart?
I think they might have been darts. The Panaracer Dart. Thank you for putting that into my head. That's probably what they were.
For sure. Those days.
Yeah.
Fits about that era, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes like IRC.
Mm-hmm.
Downhill with
I think this is even before the IRC missile that kind of came into the racing scene a little bit later. But yeah, then I ended up selling that bike to one of my buddies in high school, and then a year later, when I sold it, I bought my my first real mountain bike, a Yeti, an ARC. I still have it to this day, fully restored.
Still have it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You're a bike nerd, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit bike nerd. Yeah.
So, what was your first race? The Check-In-Us Challenge, riding from Whistler or from Vancouver to Whistler? Or
that was my
Whistler?
Yeah, that was actually my first, I'd say, official mountain bike race. Yeah.
How
Young
many
kid,
K is
cadet.
that?
Dude, it was long. I want to say 55 or something.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah. Oh, gee.
Yeah.
But so your first downhill race, you got to Vernon and went to the World Cup finals, and you won.
Yeah, I as a junior. Yeah.
And who were you racing back then? Like, it
was the juniors, right? So it's basically BC Cup, right? So you've got like the World Cup finals is there, all the pros, all the big teams, that whole thing, and then the junior program was pretty small back then. So you're essentially racing your BC Cup riders, maybe a few guys from Alberta or whatever,
with a lot more points and clout.
Exactly.
Big race.
Yeah, it was a big race, and it definitely opened my eyes to that whole world. I mean, I raced pro in the slalom though, because there is no fields there, so I raced all the pros in that.
How'd you do in the dual slalom?
Well, I knocked out Greg Herbold. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's
I mean, he was a world champion, which I didn't know at the time.
First world champion.
Yeah. He had his full Lycra suit on. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt and a pair of Vans, if I remember correctly.
Perfect. Yeah. BC tuxedo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, good times.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice to be racing in BC. Like some BC Cup's been around for a while. I just think, if you did the tour this year.
Yeah, I've been seeing that. That's amazing, man.
Dude, it's wild seeing people, as young people and no armpit hair, and they're like little kids and got some pimples, and then they grow into young men and ladies, you know, and now they're strong and they're racing pro
Well,
and
I
stuff.
can't wait to go and get my kids racing
watch.
that and kind of getting the next generation going. So,
really?
Yeah, like I look forward to it. My kids are a little bit older. I mean, they're still very young, but when they're older, if they're into it, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, something good in the genes there. So talk to me about moving to North Van. You moved in with Gate Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Racing?
Years and years later. Yeah. So after UVic days and university, I moved to the North Shore, obviously, to train.
What'd you take in university?
I was going to be a teacher, believe it or not. And then I was going to get into like physiotherapy and kind of get into that whole thing. And then I just got steered away I started racing, you know, pro and got on the Rocky contract, national team, just kind of went down that road. So, I went down obviously the mountain bike road. Right?
Well, you're on the national team for 7 years racing pro.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was 7 consecutive years, if I remember right.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Well, that's how I first got to know you and heard your name and whatnot. And just saw you racing when I just hit a few races and watched, and it was rad. It was cool to finally meet you. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. I mean, I looked at what you guys were kind of getting going on the Freeride thing, and I looked at that and I just thought to myself, like, wow, like these guys are making a living doing something, you know, completely different to the race world. And as I kind of evolved in my race world, it was so frustrating. And I'm just going to say, I'll come back for a second, but like the race world back then was like, if you didn't race, you couldn't make a living. Right? Like you hustled in the off season to kind of free ride stuff. You show them all this radical stuff, and it was difficult to get their support until guys like you made it happen, right? Like and really, you know, forged that, right?
Yeah, the pro riders, Richie working
essentially,
the professional, Wade the natural, and they said Tippy the rock star,
something like that.
The pro riders. It was good. It kind of cracked open a new mold, and you know, he got you free riding, but you were not done racing. You were still racing. You went actually to a World Cup in Hawaii, and you got on the podium with all like the legends of the time, like with Tomac, I think, won, and on there with like Miles Rockwell, Todd Schneider.
Man, you're on it.
Yeah, well, little fact checking.
Good for you, bud.
Maybe Mike King. Was it Mike King over there?
I don't think it was. I think it was an Australian guy that rode for Trek. I'll have to look at the picture of
Michael Ronning?
It might have been Ronning.
Biggest calves in the World Cup of all time. Bigger than Kovarik.
He was fit, dude. Actually, I don't think it was Ronning, though. It wasn't Ronning. It wasn't Ronning. It was another Trek guy. Travis Brown, maybe? Something like that.
Okay. Legendary times. Tomac wins that race.
Tomac wins it. I think Miles got second.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. How was your run down there?
It was good. Yeah.
Moist?
Yeah, it was wet. Wet for the field, for sure. But I had a hell of a run, so there you go.
All clean run, no practice. How are you any biffs going for it? Like pushing it at that level?
So I realized, like in my race world, if it was wet, I had a bit of an advantage. I don't know why. I just rode really well in the rain, and that
North Van, man.
Yeah, like North Van and just like flat pedals and that sort of thing. And sometimes if I'd had like a little bobble towards the top of my run, what would happen is I would just be like, fuck, and then all of a sudden I'd be at the finish line. And I would just be so geared up to get to the bottom because of a little bobble. And I think that actually happened in Hawaii. And next thing I was
get mad at yourself, get a little crazy,
ripping across the finish line. It was like run of a life for an 18-year-old. So
that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So does that make you like the youngest Canadian to get a podium in a World Cup? Or do you know that for sure?
Definitely at the time. I don't know for that for sure. But I mean, with Stevie and Finn Isles, like recently, maybe that's been
at that time
ousted,
you were,
but or maybe even not even. I don't know. I don't know how old those guys were when they got on the podium.
Yeah,
I'd love to look that up.
What bikers know
but I was 18,
that answer
so.
out there? I'd love to know.
I'd love to know too.
Fact check. Someone will tell us.
Yeah.
Put it on the Instagram if you would.
Put it on the board somewhere.
Yeah, totally. Someone will know.
Nice.
So racing, retired around 2002, 2003, a lot of downhill.
Yeah, but 7 years,
You were free running, crossed over, you got the bug, and, I saw you do an awesome scene, the closing scene segment of Kranked 3. And,
right. Oh, yeah.
Went down to the desert and you sent a huge, jump at the end. And I think you slipped your left foot at the end, but you rode it out. It was massive, and it was like the big thing. And then you're like, wow.
Yeah, we did like a big...
Super pumped.
Yeah, exactly. We did like a big Utah trip. JJ, Big Red Ted, Chad, like that was kind of the group down there filming, and I think it was Guillaume Tessier, if I remember right. He was kind of like the prodigy, young kind of, what's his nuts? Christian Beijing kind of mini Christian Beijing, like super excited. Remember that dude? You probably would have filmed with him for Kranked at some point as well. But anyways, yeah, he coordinated that whole trip, and we ended up in the Rampage zone for one day, like years before this was Rampage, and that's kind of where that particular scene got shot. That's where that big air went down. That thing, like, I didn't sleep the night before.
Was that an RM9?
That was an RM9 proto, yeah. And like the whole, like the night from like
was it the green one?
It's going down. Like,
was that the green one?
First thing in the morning, best light. Oh, it was a green machine.
That's the one I got. I got that bike after you were done with it.
That's from really.
I think it was that one.
Because we were riding for Rocky at the same time.
Yeah, it was a prototype.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah.
I never knew that. No, I didn't know. I didn't
so
know
that bike, I don't know if you realize
you
how much
there for that.
design work I actually did on that bike. So that's actually my design.
It was a big bike.
With Rocky.
Wait, how tall are you? How tall are you back then?
6'2"? Always 6'3".
6'3". Okay, yeah. It was
maybe
a big bike.
Shrunk a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun bike.
I hucked that bike in Turkey.
It was a better huck bike than it was a race bike, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good race bike, but it was a better freeride bike.
Monster tees.
Oh.
And you know what happened to those monster tees? Bender borrowed them from me to go do the jaw drop because he hurt his forks, and so he couldn't do it, bent his forks. And so I lent him those forks from that bike, and he hit the jaw drop the first time.
No way.
With those forks. They're in that closet over there.
Hilarious. You still got them.
They still work great.
That's cool that you kept some of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. So a year later after Crank 3, you did Ride to the Hills, and there's like that nice cover and Chandro on the front of that big step down you guys are doing that was in Cranked.
That's right, the mullet line.
In Rampage, I mean.
Virgin Utah. Virgin Utah, yeah.
So Ride to the Hills, that was a very progressive film for the time, and you know, like that was like a hard hitter, man.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think that the style of filming definitely came from the whole snowboard scene, right? And like, Gnarly and the group that he kind of got helping with the filming and the creative was pretty ahead of its time. And obviously the venue there just, makes for a sick zone to go and send it, right?
Yeah. Crazy days, right? Like, kind of like...
Yeah, Jordy Lunn was on that trip with us. Like, that guy was such a dude. Good friend of mine.
Always.
So, R.I.P.
Yeah.
We had a good posse for that Ride to the Hill segment.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's new and fresh. It's like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you get down there. We actually had like 10 days filming and building, and the former trip is like the last day on the trip, kind of before winter, just kind of a snippet to what it could be like, and then to go back and actually, session it was pretty rad, man.
Yeah. I just remember those days, like things were just raw. Like it's just like untitled, like it was just new, right?
You'd be hiking up the hill, you'd be like, where's your bike? Oh, yeah. They're just over there. The cameras aren't even rolling, and they're just like sending it.
Yeah. Such beautiful stuff, right? So good.
Yeah.
Like cam loops, but like magnified.
Yeah. Red dirt, just like, just pow.
And you see it now,
Red
and
pow.
there's lines and hits.
Oh, it's just changed so
and
much.
Like, you see different things that people have worked in over time. It's like, it's so wild.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll hit a trail or a location, and I'll just have all these memories from different decades of things happening in that exact spot.
Cool.
And I ride by, and I have like 6 to 10 different memories of different moments of people having their first shin bite,
awesome.
Or you know what I mean, or conquering some section, or you ride by and there's just it's crazy.
I hear you. I rode the shore last weekend or 2 weekends ago for Wade's little shred sort of society, that thing he's trying to help get dollars to like local riders.
Oh yes.
And there's a section of trail that we rode kind of below Dales, and I've been riding it for like 20 years. And we stopped, and Wade's like, let's session it with these guys, and normally we just blast through it. And I'm like, wow, same as you. It's like total memories on that corner. I'm like, I remember like riding down here with like a hardtail and just trying to make this corner.
I know, right?
Right? And it's like, and then you go through the next area, and it's like, oh, and then when the downhill bike with the full face and the goggles, oh, you want them to fog up, and then just go through the era of memories on the same trail.
In a way, it was
rad.
as gnarlier,
in different ways.
In different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bizarre concept.
It is a bizarre concept.
Yeah. Cantilever brakes, like
thank God, all
that brake at any time.
Bikes are so much radder now.
Oh my God. So you were riding for Rocky, and then you rode for GT, I believe.
Yeah, did I go GT? Yeah, I did go. Yeah, I went to GT right after Rocky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocky, man, like what an amazing company. It's one of my favorite companies. But I broke 14 bikes that season. 14.
Oh,
like,
it's
you
tough
know, like it just.
You want to get used to a
nothing
bike, right?
Nothing catastrophic. Like they were trying to fly too light or close to the sun, making things light. Like they were doing amazing work for the race team. But like I had an opportunity to go to a full factory GT program and have a mechanic and take a salary cut. But that was the winning bike the next year. It was the iDrive was the system that they had that next year.
Okay.
Yeah, which was cool. Yeah, that was a sick race bike actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could, you know,
best race bike of the circuit.
Work a bike and get used to it for a while, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can have identically built bikes, but they both feel different. You know what I mean? Isn't it crazy?
It is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, they get their own personalities.
Yeah. But I miss the Rocky days. I mean, that was probably one of the funnest programs I was ever on. Like just the mechanic with Johnny Rockall, Marshall Kent, and you guys, and like I was just kind of getting to know more so you. Like I kind of already knew Wade because of like he worked at Robson Cycles in the Cove, and I didn't really know Richie that well yet, or you. You were kind of a little more peripheral because you were never around, right? You're always in Europe traveling, or you know, in some foreign country filming. So I didn't get to know you and Richie that well until later on.
Yeah. It was a cool mix, and not only the freeride and the race scene, but also just people from different sections like Roslyn and Williams Lake, and Kootenays and like the Kamloops guys, the North Shore guys, and Pemberton freaks, and this melting pot that was all pretty fresh and new.
Yeah, hodgepodge.
That time in the sport, right?
Yeah, it drove innovation. It drove people wanting to progress the sport, I suppose.
Yeah, I loved it. Love it. Oh, okay, so the collective. Got to film for the collective, so
that's sort of
movies,
Ride to the
next.
Hills,
the collective, so a new style, really artsy, really beautiful, well done.
It
was the original.
I mean that sort of came after Ride to the Hills, and Jamie, who's the producer behind that movie, like he filmed for Kranked, so he was a very accomplished cinematographer and just had a totally different eye for what he wanted. Jamie Hussein for what he wanted to do, and. Yeah, I mean, people to this day still are like the collective. Like it really helped launch, I think, my riding career even further at that time. Absolutely,
sure.
Yeah, and all the riders that were part of that. Yeah, so we were the collective, I suppose. collectively helped us all.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I like the way they have like the stories woven in there very well. And
I went to Maui and like rode I mean, they're still going back to that zone even to this day, like with Brandon and stuff, which is super cool, like that half pipe, and it's seen that evolve. And we rode the Chilcotins. I'd never been to the Chilcotins before, and I'd heard of it, but to go to the Chilcotins that young and up there with helicopters and grizzly bears, but like all our luggage was taken up, so you didn't have to schlep it up like you do these days when you want to go ride the Chilcotins. It was a different experience. Like we rode it to film it, and it was amazing, man. Like still one of the top film trips of my stoked life, right?
Yeah, it's a magical place.
It is a magical place.
Changed a lot of lives up there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's cool for you riding because you were riding fast. You're like your World Cup racer, and
Thanks.
Tall, lanky, soaking up the terrain. How was
just trying to keep up with guys like Steve Pete.
Yeah.
Right. That was, and Cedric. Those are the kind of couple of styles that I tried to mimic. So tall guys.
That's awesome. Let's take a quick moment. The ride rap crash of your life. Boom.
Boom.
Tell us, share with us. What was the gnarliest one?
Gnarliest crash.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The ride rap crash of your life.
Let me think. I'd say probably filming in Australia I was on a Red Bull freight train trip. So we'd driven from Western Australia in Perth all the way to Adelaide on this bus. These photos, like Aaron Chase, Nathan Rennie, myself, Grant Allen, we were the riders, and it was an amazing trip. And it was at the very end of the trip, like literally the last day. We were in near Adelaide, near where Grant Allen grew up, and there's this like canyon and these really neat features that we were sessioning, and Aaron Chase had set up this like hand plant over a tree, and I'd found this massive sort of half pipe thing. Anyways, I'd sort of built this interesting move. It wasn't that gnarly, but anyways, I was practicing it, sessioning it before kind of going to film it, and it was a pretty vert half pipe I kind of dropped into. But anyways, I just kind of just overshot it a little bit. So when I landed, I got lawn darted, like literally lawn darted. So when I landed straight on my head, and I broke my back. And I'm like, dude, my back is broken. I knew like right away.
Yeah.
And there's people are around, but they're far enough away. They're like,
how far down in your back?
So I fractured my was it T? Yeah, it was T 4, 5, 6. Right. So those three.
Holy.
Yeah. So anyways, I got hauled out of there, went to the hospital. It was just a terrible situation, right? And when you break your back, you just think about things differently.
Yeah.
Riding wise, it definitely took a while for me to kind of get my head back in the space.
Dude.
Like I was 6 months probably before I was full send, and then went on the next trip to New Zealand or something, and was full send, had a crash, was okay, and then you kind of know you're back in the game.
Yeah.
You need to have a crash.
You got to get out of the way.
Right, and you're like, bam, I'm back.
That ain't that bad.
Exactly.
Pick up the Rocky.
Exactly, but that was probably up there with one of the worst. But
yeah.
I could just go on and on if you want.
Yeah, of course. Hard to pick just one, man.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God.
But it healed well. So.
How about the Red Bull ride events? Those gnarly ones in Australia. Did you get unscathed in those ones?
Unscathed.
They were nuts, man.
Yeah, they were.
They
were way ahead of their time. Like it was kind of like a bit of where racing was in terms of like the most technical race meets like kind of like pre-Rampage style of like how things are judged, and it was a bit of a hybrid, right? Yeah, it was gnarly. Like just everything about those, but it was so fun. Like when you got the run and you put it all together. You're like, whoa, dude! I can't believe I just rode that, and it was like a video game, dude.
Oh, they were
really what it was.
There were some gnarly crashes, and there was some like ragged stuff that got ran out. That was that was nuts.
Yeah. That event was just it was ahead of its time.
How many did you
I did 2, I think.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Wade won the one with the flat back tire.
He did. Yeah, I remember that well. Yeah. What a machine, dude.
Yeah.
Like
just mental. Like just a mental fortitude.
It was right around, I think it was right before he won the Rampage, if I remember right. Or it was right after or right before. I think it was right before.
Was he in the same red t-shirt?
He could have been.
Probably. What about you? When your first Rampage was the first year, 2001. You'd ridden there before. And you knew Barber. You got to meet Barber, and then
right, the organizer. Yeah, Todd. Yeah.
So you were in the first Rampage. You're an original Rampager, dude.
Original Rampager. Yeah. That was. It was an interesting event. Like it was so different than what we'd obviously see these days, right? It was just a couple guys hiking up the hill, and I don't remember there being a lot of tools, and it was really early days, man.
There was your boot. You just kick a couple stones out of the way.
It wasn't much different than that.
It was cooler if you didn't kind of touch it back then, right?
Exactly.
Like you're like, rah, and just come up and interpret it and do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like find the features and just ride the natural terrain.
Soft landings when you went big sometimes.
Yeah.
You did really,
Yeah.
You had to land straight.
But fun. Like I remember being fun. I remember really enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, it was good. Yeah. I rode with you in 2002 when I was there.
That's right.
We were sessioning Canadian bacon.
That's right. Yeah. We're all like standing around there taking turns looking at that. Because like if you haven't hit something like that for a little while and you're like, whoa, here we go again. Like it takes a little while to kind of get your mojo going, right?
When you're flying up to the edge and there's that light switch, that moment of yes or no.
Totally.
And then you're committed and you're like, well, here we go. And you still have a moment of calm. Like,
yeah. Put a couple rocks down so you can kind of see where you're going. You're like, are those the rocks I placed? Dude,
there was people on my track and they were running them. All my rocks were gone. The little runways.
Yeah.
In a couple of places.
Yeah. For me though, Rampage, there was, I think it was the second or the third one. There was a big transfer line. That for me was like the epiphany of the Rampage in my era of like, where I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish almost at Rampage.
Yeah.
It's as close as I ever got to like my optimum run.
if I remember, there was a couple tight hairpins right above it to get into that angle before the.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I didn't want to tell anybody what I was riding because I'd had an event earlier where somebody kind of poached my line and blew it out a little bit. It's just the way it goes. I'm like, you know what? I'm not telling anybody where I'm going except for maybe one or two photographers, so that
Smart.
it was just like, where the hell is he going? And then the judges would get more excited, and
the off factor.
And it totally worked. Actually,
that is smart strategic thinking.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I think they still do that. Like, hold a little ace up the sleeve, you know.
Yeah.
A
lot harder to do, I would think now because everything's so more defined. But but it's a good move. Yeah.
Oh, it's smart, right? It's like it's showtime, right? And
totally
get the excitement, the hype up, right? Like the off factor.
Yeah.
The dangers.
Yeah.
So, Rampage, it's happening again.
Yeah, a couple weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, 20th anniversary actually. How's that make you feel?
I should fly down last minute. I should do that actually. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
20th? Well, is it really the 20th?
It's the 20th anniversary. Well, from 2001.
Wow, I guess it. Yeah, I guess
2021. Boom, 20 years like that.
Bam.
There it is. Holy, right?
Wow.
Yeah. It's
that's so cool.
They missed a few though.
They did miss a few. Yeah. And there was always those off years in the earlier times. They would go like every 2 years.
Every couple of years. Yeah. Well, they're going back to the 2016, 2017 site.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think Semenuk won in 2016, and I think Sorgi won in 2000.
Yeah, I think you're right.
17, I think. Anyways, what bikers know out there? Someone knows. What was it like at Rampage? I noticed when I go down there, everything is, you see it looks big on camera, but it looks bigger when you're there, of course. Oh. But then there's all those little subtle things like little side hills or pedal catchers or rocks on the outsides of corners on runouts and stuff. And it's way gnarlier when you're there, right? It's even think.
Oh yeah. It is always way camera. Even the best filming can just never really justify how gnarly it is. Right?
Exposed.
Those ridge lines, like you end up in some spots you don't want to be, right? And that can happen just from missing a landing or something, right? So, but I mean, the guys are just so good. They're so calculated. It's just, it's precision, right?
Yeah. You don't want to be the first guy down, eh? Where did you run? Did you go down early or did you go late?
I think it was always, maybe they've changed it now, but when we were running it, it was kind of a lottery for plates, right? So there'd be the qualifier the day before, and I remember like you just grab a number out of a bucket or something. But like there was no numerical to that, and then I think there was a qualifier, and then they would do maybe reverse or something for the finals. Could be wrong, but I remember something to that effect. Yeah. But I'm indifferent, if I go down early or late. But I think that usually, it's just always wind relative, right? So the wind was always a factor there. Yeah. So you just hoped you wouldn't be in a pocket of wind, right?
Yeah, timing.
And
lottery, right?
Lottery, yeah.
Wow. When you were there, did you see any gnarly crashes in person? Did you see anyone? Did you see any of that bender stuff, like flying off? Or
I was actually.
See Wade's
I was quite.
Flip?
Oh yeah, I saw that too. I was worried for Bender when he was looking at this one massive move. Like I'm like, if he goes down, that really could. He could really hurt himself, kind of thing, right? I was worried for him. There was a bunch of those. Wade when he did his huge
double bounce,
double roll or whatever.
Off a cliff, man.
Yeah,
he just got the perfect rotation and somehow came up unscathed, raised his hands.
Yeah,
basically unscathed.
Yeah. There was a few like there was a move that I remember Cedric was one of the first guys to hit. I remember looking, going like that is so technical. You kind of got a hip. It's blind. You got to get over here. It's a bit flat, and he nailed it. But it was like, when guys are rolling into some of those things, you're like, oh, dude, just don't get it wrong. Because you get it wrong, it's going to hurt. Yeah. You're going to go down.
It was experimenting with getting that big, going that big consecutively, right? Like different bands going down.
G. Atherton, like there was a line that he rode there my last year, and I nearly changed my line to ride his line. I'm like, you know what? He was cool with it, but I'm glad I didn't, but it was so freaking fat. It's like once you're into it, you're into it. It's like there's no getting off mid-line on that one.
Yeah. Just
same thing. It's just like just full commit. Yeah. So sick though.
So good. How about Robbie Borden in those days, eh?
Oh, dude.
Like when
I love watching that guy ride some of that stuff, man. Just
What an
he
animal.
was he just went for it, right?
yeah, like just had the flow going down the mountain, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like a little early Andreo.
And just tiny, like just you watched him ride, he was exciting to watch. Right, like look at this little dude go. Right, he's just so full energy. Like kind of Andreu like, but you know, like, and that's the guy these days. I mean, there's a bunch that I love watching,
He's
but
got
like
the most exciting
Andreu,
rampage runs almost, eh?
Oh,
Almost every time.
almost every time. Yeah, can't wait to watch that guy ride this year.
Yeah, just at the bottom of that last one, like he had the run of the. I think he would have won.
Yeah,
yeah, a few times there.
Yeah, and I think
you got to make it to the bottom though.
Yeah, you got to get all the way to the bottom and clean. You can't even have a dab now, right? Like, it's so competitive, so tight.
Yeah,
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
Like consistent big spins and like Tom Van Steenbergen backflipping on 55 plus.
I can't fathom that actually. Like, that's a whole other level. Those guys are
animals, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, much respect for that, man. It's just it's so amazing to see. Really.
Every sport, man. Every sport. It's just it's cool.
Yeah,
but it's all built on somewhere, right? And just of course they better be doing something like that these days.
Well, I mean, one has to be at that level, right? So.
Yeah. Being a pro
and
today,
gracefully,
it's a big commitment and a lot of personal health risk, to be, at that level today. To be a pro today would be so tough. And you have to do all the social media, like you got to have.
Yeah, we didn't have that in our career. I mean, there was no self-promotion, right? Like we had it kind of easy. I think like the magazines, they helped bolster careers because they wrote about people and they, published photos and riders could just ride, and now, I mean, social media seems to be such a bigger part of it. I love it. I think it's amazing, but it must be tough. It brings in another element for up and comers, right?
Editing and sound and, putting in music and.
So cool though.
Yeah. You've been pretty consistent at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I want to talk to you about something that you're iconic. That you're iconic for is the Tour de France road gap. You were the first mountain biker to jump the Tour de France road bikers racing the Tour de France. Was it the peloton or was it a group after the peloton?
Well, it's still considered. Yeah, I mean, it's a group after peloton. Yeah, it wasn't the lead group. Trust me, we wanted the lead group. Like I went there to jump Lance, but that obviously didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So it was a chase group.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did it take to find it? How did you find it? Did you just there's a few different locations? How
did we find it? No, so I was over that summer filming New World Disorder segments, and the idea came up between Scott Markowitz and guys from Big Bike, and the idea started flowing. Big D, those things just kind of go. You're talking, and all of a sudden it's like. Next day, it's like, whoa, we're going looking for Tour de France gaps, right? Like, what have I got myself into, right? But we found one literally that weekend, and I flew back like a month later when the race was on. And, I think a few days earlier probably would have been helpful, but yeah, I flew back for the race. And
what did you have to do to make it? Was it pretty natural?
Well, we got to spend time on the jump, which was good. But we didn't have any time for the landing, unfortunately. Like there was just people started showing up and they were camping and they were all over the place. And the landing was, it was literally like, think Rampage year 1. Like it was like nothing. We didn't even move a stone.
Raw.
Completely raw, scree slope.
Oh my God.
But had we worked on it, would have been helpful. But it's just the way it goes.
How big was it?
I think it was, I want to say like maybe 40 out and like 25 down, but I'm not positive. Like somewhere in that range.
Yeah, big boy.
Somewhere in that range. Yeah, big boy, big. Yeah, it was full commit. Definitely one of the biggest errors I've ever done. Maybe a little bigger than that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Who's shooting it? Who's getting it? Because you want him to get it, right?
Well, New World shot it, and Scott
Markowitz.
Axel was not there.
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. But Scott Markowitz shot the stills, and Kerry Boxer, R.I.P. Kerry Boxer, he organized the whole trip. So he was very integral in that whole coordination of all of that. And filmer, I want to say it was Travis, was actually the main cine. And then there was a Euro guy whose name is escaping me right now that was hired, like full cine, like the full Panavision, like the sick camera package.
Yeah.
Who lived in the French hills, like French action sports guy. And then Candide Tovex's guy also showed up to shoot it, but then he didn't shoot it. He left because he was concerned about being arrested, so he bailed. Which should have been rad because his filmer would have, I think, also killed it too.
Yeah. Did you get in trouble?
Like trouble and how and what do you mean?
No, nothing, eh?
No. Well,
did you stick around long?
Well, I mean, I got a ticket from the gendarmes for €100.
What? Really?
Yeah, but they were very much like, it's such a free country.
Who?
The gendarmes are like, here you go, here's a ticket, right? But then they never actually issued it. Like it was kind of a warning thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So no, I mean it's a very liberal country, right? So I was able to move on. Yeah.
Jump the Tour de France, man.
we got the shot. I mean, it didn't quite go as planned, as you can recall. But I mean, the plan was to land, continue on down, and then initially we wanted to build another kicker over the second part of the road, and then ride out to the valley.
Just a horrible outrun.
But
Gotcha.
the slam kind of left me with a broken bike and no way to essentially vacate the valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you got me.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, people have done it since, but for you to go for it, that was an early time, right? And kind of badass,
Well, yeah. I mean, people were jumping trains and and other vehicles, and it just kind of, you're always one upping, right? Like that's kind of what you're doing. Like, whoa, what can we do here to kind of progress this? So that was just one of the ideas, right?
Yeah, totally. It's kind of an iconic moment, kind of a bad boy image, like kind of like the Mark Fawcett classic shot of him on the snowboard doing a heel turn, and it wasn't Trevor Peterson, but it was a skier in Greenland, and he's like doing an egg beater on his skis, and he's got a pole and a ski out, and this Mark Fawcett's on the snowboard, just like roosting him with a powder spray, like just full heel side.
I think I vaguely remember that.
It's kind of like that, and it was like the cover.
I know Mark Fawcett though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
The 20-year anniversary or whatever it was. Had that on the cover again.
Nice.
Yeah, iconic shot. So.
Well, it was pretty cool. I think it was
an iconic move. Jump the Tour de France.
Yeah, and I guess guys have got into it. I mean, the two kids that did it last year sent me videos of it and the whole making of it. And I was just like, wow, this is so rad, man. They were really.
Did they really? That's awesome.
Oh, it was
Good
so.
for them.
It was so cool. It's like. Yeah, like and the video that they wrote all this like moonscapey stuff like above it and then like linked it all in, like it was I was so impressed. So cool. And then they like no-handed it and they sessioned that thing. And they were telling me how gnarly it still was, and they're like, you jumped it without doing the landing. And I'm just like, thanks for just making me feel good.
Yeah.
you made my week.
Totally, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's so funny when some guy who's like doing like
Max
flips and twists.
Yeah, Max and
ask for your autograph.
What's that?
It's funny when you'll see some guy doing double backflips and
totally.
Crazy acrobatics and funky shapes, just shredding, and then he sees you and they're like, and they want your autograph.
Oh, exactly.
And you're like, really? That's cool. And then, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you got a couple covers on Bike Magazine. You got a bunch of different magazines, but Bike was the one back then.
Bike was the
I got two covers myself.
It was Bike and Dirt, right?
You got two covers.
In Europe, it was always Dirt for me. Like that was the bomb.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bike Magazine, whole nother level for what they brought to the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that I saw was you riding through a sinkhole.
The portal.
And you're airing, and then you're like, oh, that's a cool shot. And then you look below you, and there's a massive cliff below you, fat drop into kind of a transfer to the left down the steeps.
That's right.
Full.
I remember it well.
Yeah, awesome Freeride cover.
That was a Dave Reddick photo.
How big was that drop out of the hole?
It was pretty big, man.
25, 30 down?
I don't think it was
20, 15, 20?
No, I'd say it's probably between 20 and I'd say a hair over 20.
Yeah. 22 and a half.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I think to where you're going to land is, another 5 or 7.
It'll just grow to 25. Yeah, it must have been 25.
Yeah.
It was close to 25.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. The technical part was actually the run in, and then you had to kind of hip off after the tongue to get to the steep part of the tranny.
Yeah.
So it was a little more technical than it looked.
How far out down there was it?
Well, you had to also hip to the right? So even though it was maybe 22 or whatever to where you would normally land, you had to get out 5 to the right, but you didn't want to hit your handlebars. It was a weird move actually.
Yeah. Did you chisel it open any bigger?
Oh yeah, we chiseled it.
Oh yeah.
We chiseled it. It was like a little, what do they call those things? Those land bridge or something like that. So it needed a little chiseling.
The classic when it counts collapsed, eh?
What?
You know the classic one across from the hold. It's up from
No way.
Devil's Peak.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a few years ago now. Actually, 2 or 3 years ago, I think. Maybe even 4 years ago. No, about 3 years ago. And it finally collapsed.
Oh.
It was a cool sinkhole to ride through.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I love that cover because
a drag.
the lights coming through in the whole. It's just like a full like heavy metal, cartoon looking shot. It's awesome.
That was a fun trip. Claw was on. It was probably the first trip I'd done with him.
Oh wow.
Sort of post Rampage, and yeah, he dropped a big move on that trip, and yeah, moves are going down like for that era.
With
like,
no sleeves on. Long hair flying out the back of a dirt jump helmet.
Yeah, probably, yeah. He didn't ever wear pads. That was his style, right? Long hair, the bandana.
Do you know what this is? It's a gun rack.
Exactly, island style.
Yeah, totally. Laying down the claw. Oh man. The other cover was with the claw. Actually, your other bike magazine cover.
Was it?
Yeah. Was that over like a?
No, that was with Chandro.
Oh, was it with Chandro?
Yeah. It was a Chandro Whistler shot, actually.
Oh, okay. And where was that at?
Upper like freight train, like when they were just building it. So it wasn't open to the public yet. It was kind of like just being built, and went up to the Alpine and shot it, if I remember right. Black and white, and yeah, Whistler freight train, I think.
Who shot it?
It may have been Linger, but I'm not positive on that.
Okay.
As in Sterling Lawrence, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. Yeah, bike magazine. It's a sad to go. It's back as beta.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the guys, same guys, anyways. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. They definitely changed the industry. That's for sure.
MBUK still happening. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Freeride Germany. There's still lots of magazines out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some good local ones as well. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Are you a pink bike surfer?
Oh yeah. I mean, I not like in the day where I would be on it every day.
Yeah.
But it's in my DNA, man. Like I feel out of the loop if I'm not looking at it whenever I've got time.
Yeah. Go do a little catch up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys they've really been integral to making the sport as rad as it is in a lot of ways, right? Oh. But it's hard to keep up with it. Like I'm like, whoa, I don't know some of these people, and a lot of it's like, and there's so much video on there now. It's really different.
There's a lot of content
early
coming
days,
at
for sure.
You can't watch it all.
No,
you can't. That's all you do.
No,
you know.
No.
Yeah, it's fun to pick out now and then.
Oh, for sure.
Go down the wormhole, smorgasbord of
absolutely
action and shred it.
Many shredits, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another thing that you've done is, incredible is you founded Sombrio Clothing quite early, actually, earlier than I thought, and it went on, for many years until you sold it and then got it back and then sold it again, or I don't know exactly how that worked out, but you were the founder back in the day. What year did you actually start that?
So I didn't sell it and get it back, but so I found it. Yeah.
How did that? I don't know how it worked.
Well,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, but no, I found it in '98, like a long time ago. I was pretty young kid, but we had co-founders. I founded it with a buddy of mine by the name of Dwayne, and then a couple years after, we kind of moved on from that business, and I got other Gabe and Andrew kind of bought this my original founder out. I like to call them co-founders because granted I always became known as the founder, but many years on after that original core group of founders, which I would call the core four.
Who was it?
Gabe, Andrew. So Gabe Fox.
Yeah.
Andrew Chandro and Dwayne Nickel. Those were the core founders of Sombrio.
Dwayne Nickel was another downhill racer.
He was, yeah.
Racer
early days.
Pro elite in the BC Cup.
Yeah, way back when. Yeah, it's cool that you remember who he is.
He was from the Valley.
I think he may have been, or from the island or somewhere.
Maybe from the island?
Maybe from the Valley.
I thought he was from the Valley.
Yeah, not positive. This is like way back when. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I ran it for many years on my own after that. That was kind of early days. Yeah.
So how cool is it to do anything you want from your brain and make it happen? Because
it was 20 years.
You've got opinions of what you like and don't like with your equipment and everything, and to be able to do that is incredible.
It is.
Yeah. How rad was that?
Yeah, it was good. Like we made stuff because we wanted to change how the bike world was looking. Like, you'd look at your bike and it rode so sick, and then you'd look at, I don't know, me, I'd look at my clothes and be like, this doesn't fit what we're doing, right? Like it didn't fit the style of riding that we had. So just, it kind of was born from that, to be frank. And it just, I think we were really ahead of our time kind of early on, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right.
And, how many staff did you have at the beginning, and what did it grow to?
Oh, geez. We were up to like, oh man, I think total head count was maybe around 35 in-house. And, we were, if you bring in all the international distributors and all that, it's, externally they're consultants or contractors or independents, we don't call them, but we're well over 100. Right. So we were big. We had a large footprint globally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it grew from there. I mean, it got even bigger after I've kind of, sold it, and it kind of, moved on through its next events, and that's the way it went. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool that, you had riders riding for you. Who did you have riding for you?
Oh gosh. I think that we had a pretty good part in a lot of young riders sort of early days, and I mean, these guys made their careers because of how sick and how rad they were. But, I didn't say no to that many young rippers that came looking for, clothing, because we were, definitely trying to work with the best guys. But, if you add it up over the years, I mean, Thomas Vanderham would have been one of the youngest ones when he was the kid. And, he moved on to he moved on to Oakley, I think, at one point. And then it was like Graham Agassi jumped onto the program and he was young. Jordy Lunn rode for us for many, many years. I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, there's just so many. And then you get into the whole European side of the riders too, right? There's all that whole gamut of young guys over there that really, made a living for themselves, like Tron Hansen and that whole group of sort of Swedish and Norwegian guys. Fabien Cuisinier, when we got back into that kind of the racing program, got Claire Bouchard, race wise. I mean, I could just go on and on, right? Like just, yeah.
A lot of negotiating with like photographers and making shoots happen and doing the whole marketing side as well as the business side.
Yeah.
You were running, you were giving it, you were doing it, man.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, because we really focused a lot on our product, and we focused a lot on getting the right photographers and the filmers and being pretty involved in that side of the business, which was super fun. Yeah.
Well, you've been there all along, right? So you know exactly what you want and how it's done, right?
Yeah.
The experience.
Yeah.
Going through,
Totally. Yeah. And like one rider wants it this style, another rider wants it that style. And like, yeah, you really try to help elevate the riders' personalities, right? That's what clothing companies do that get it really, really well. And I think that Sombrio got it better as it got a little bit more mature, really helped bring forward those athletes. I mean, we got to the age of having like Jill Kintner and Brent and her husband there. Like when we got that program going, it really started to speak volumes to kind of the next level, right?
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Our professionalism.
Yeah. How many years did you have Sombrio? And why did you sell it?
Well, I mean, I was just kind of looking to move on, right? Like, I mean, I'd grown it up to be pretty successful, and we hired a broker to sell the business for us, and they sold it to Adidas. So it's pretty hard to say no to that. I got to focus on sports and marketing and product and design and just kind of take a step back. So that was the first sale, and then it was sold a couple of years after that through an en-bloc sale to Durrell and Sugoi, and then I transitioned from being owner, operator, CEO, like the full haunch to, executive haunch, to being essentially a director, and licensing royalty type of deal. And just wasn't me, like at that point you're not really part of the DNA anymore. And then they sold it to Louis Garneau, and Louis Garneau is who's operated up until, recently. Right. So that's just the way that goes. Things kind of evolve over time, and events in the world of business could be complex sometimes, but 20 years of Sombrio plus.
That's a good full pull. You did it.
It's a full pull.
You did it. Yeah. Time to change. So what are you doing now, man?
Well, I mean, I'm entrepreneur, Mr. Startup. So I've got two main things going on right now, but one is a micromobility. So if you're familiar with that, it's just, how people move around in towns. So I'm a CEO of a micromobility company in Vancouver called Vimo. So that's like, it's awesome. Like these are like founder of BlackBerry's involved. Like it's really happening. Like this little company, we're all kind of
Balsley?
Pardon me?
Balsley?
What do you mean?
Founder of...
No, BlackBerry. You know,
BlackBerry, yeah.
The BlackBerry, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the founders of the BlackBerry. No, so this is like the fourth employee.
Oh, okay.
So he's like one of the guys there. We have a strong board, strong investors. Like this thing is really neat. It's like a micromobility company called Vimo. So that's my main like 24/7 one I'm working on full time. But about 7 years ago, I also wrote a few patents and got in. I took time off after Sombrio, not a lot, but I took a little bit of time off. And
to go surfing or what?
Yeah, surf trips and ski trips and power trips and family.
Nice.
But I started developing some really neat, like really high-end, high-performance mountain bike products. Hired engineers, wrote patents, and we're 7 years in on this thing. It's sick, and we're like final stages of endurance testing, and it's really neat. But we're still pre-market, and you'll be one of the first to probably get one of our T-shirts and kind of get that going when we're ready. But
is there a name for it yet?
Oh yeah, we've got our name, trademarks, all that stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Websites all kind of ready to go, and yeah, so we're in a nice space. But those are my two things. Like it's full time on Vimo, small team. We're 12 people, and I've got four guys on my other team. But I own one company. One company I work for. So those are my two primaries right now. And life's really good, dude. And I still ride as much as I can, but never enough.
What do you ride now? What's your bike?
An Evil. So
you ride e-bikes and bikes, don't you?
Yeah, I got a lot of bikes. Yeah, but my mountain bike is an Evil. So
yeah.
I reconnected with Kevin a few years ago. I actually helped Kevin earlier on in the Evil days with their bikes, and it's like riding a Lamborghini, dude. Those not that I like Lamborghinis. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Oh, they're sick, but in perspective, though, their bikes
if
are
you're
just
if you're
so
a sheep, you ride
good.
a Lamborghini.
If you're a sheep, you ride a Lamborghini. That's a good one.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm riding a Lamborghini, but it's called an Evil.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, their bikes are they're just so good, dude. And I got back in the RockShox program this year. The Fox program. Whoops. Sorry, Marshall. So my bikes are good. I'm happy. I'm riding a bunch and can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And riding the North Shore, so
much as I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to be in a rad place with if you want to shuttle, it's a paved road at the top, or you can lots of trails down the bottom, even during the winter, eh?
Pretty much, or just e-bike up, right?
Yeah. Wade Simmons said it best. Having an e-bike is like having a
chairlift in your garage.
Yes.
So I listened to his podcast. I worked quite late tonight, and I'm like, I got to get prepared for this thing. And 10 minutes before I left, and I'm like, so I listened to the Wade podcast.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm like, that's a good one.
Nice to finish it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too, Brett.
Yeah. Good to catch up. You're a legend. Always cool to see. Riding fast, racing style, early free racer, I guess.
Free racer.
Yeah. And just shredding the big lines and stuff. So lots of respect.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And likewise, I think we're overdue for a pedal. So when you're back from your big whirlwind trip down to Rampager and down south, we'll have to hit the trails.
The traction will be good.
It will be good.
Yeah.
Will be good.
Get some fog.
Yeah.
Make it cool.
Yeah. Little North Shore fog machine.
Yeah, totally.
Natural.
I tried to shoot a picture, but in the fog, but I missed. All right, so it's a tradition here on the Brit TV podcast to have a joke for the end. Do you have a joke, preferably a cheesy dad joke? The cheesier, the better. Have you got some for us?
Yeah, I do have a joke. I had to look it up, unfortunately, but if we've got time, I've got a short little story
as well.
Well, it can be short. It depends how we are for time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a little funny story.
So here's my question. I'm just gonna load it up. So your 50th birthday at Squamish was awesome.
Yes.
Remember, you got the band there.
Yeah,
it was people were having
tribute band.
People were having so much fun. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Myself included. And
a roast, full on old school Rat Pack roast.
That's right. And now, do you remember
bicycle races outside?
That's where I'm going with it. So, do you remember the bicycle races outside? Great idea.
I grabbed 4 16-inch bicycles.
That was
just to make
sick.
sure we had enough to go through in case things got crazy, and they did.
Yeah. So I'm wandering through. I'm like, oh, nice, you got the bike races outside. So I teed up, watched somebody do a lap. Like sick. So I'm like. I watched, see which bikes I think is the fastest. I grab it.
About 50 people raced. There was 275 people there, and 50 people raced.
Oh yeah, people were into it. So I put it aside, And I do like a little warm-up lap on it. I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good on this thing. And like, I gave her, dude. Like, I really lit it up. I'm like, I had to have won, right? So I'm just, my question is, did you flip our times?
Because I won. No, I was not in charge of that. You know what I did? I watched you. I watched Dave McInnes. I watched a bunch of different, Seth Burke from Washington. I watched all the fastest sections, and then I put them together. Plus, I don't drink, so everyone was pretty,
Yeah, I had a few wobbly pops for sure. So
yeah, totally. I was like,
because I was convinced, I'm like, there's no way this guy's got the full IOC Omega like split timing machine here. Like, there's a little Rosser Bagliati and here on these timing lenses across the line. There's no way. I thought for sure you flipped our time.
I won my own oversized check. I made checks for second and third.
I remember that. Anyways, awesome. that was a great 50th. Yeah. Okay. So I got a little joke here.
Okay.
I got one little joke if you're ready for it. My boss told me to have a good day, so I went home. So I'm not much of a joker, and I have a lot of jokes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But I think that was pretty good. Yeah. So I went home.
Legit. Nice. Oh. Okay, I got one for you.
All right. What do you got?
I was going to tell a time traveling joke, but you didn't like it.
Okay, I do have another one here.
Okay.
Okay, when does a joke become a dad joke?
When?
When it becomes apparent.
When it becomes apparent. Of course. Nice. That actually makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one last one for you.
Okay.
I've been thinking about taking up meditation. I figure this is better than sitting around doing nothing.
I like it. Dude, you always have so many jokes, and I don't even know how you remember them all. It's impressive. You're like an elephant, man.
Yeah, they go in there and there.
My son has a memory like an elephant. I do not.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, I can remember like POW days.
Good on you.
Single track from 20 years ago better than I can remember why I came in this room.
That's cool.
Or what I had for breakfast this morning.
Compartmentalized memory.
Yeah, totally. Just happy thoughts. Yeah, totally.
Nice.
Dave, thanks for coming, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right on. Dave Watson, everybody. Thanks for coming on.